I really wanted to make this video to start a new series. It is a series that I'm super excited about. It's a little bit different than the writing and booktube sort of videos that I used to make back when I was using this channel in like 2020. But I think it really reflects who I am right now and also an aspect of my life that I get a lot of questions about, and that is being an American living in London. Without further ado, welcome to Life in London, a series all about being a girl in her 20s and an immigrant living in London, one of the most literary cities in the world. Honestly, I never really saw myself living in London, and we'll get into the background of how I ended up here, what my visa application process was like. But first, just kind of an idea of what you can expect from the series. My idea is to create 1 or 2 Life in London videos per month, and it's going to show what it is honestly like to live here, the highs, the lows, the things that I love about the city, the things that I maybe struggle with. And I really just want to kind of capture, like I said, life in London, but also what it's like to be an immigrant, because even though I'm coming from the US to the UK and both countries speak English, they're relatively similar in like a scale of all countries in the world, if that makes sense. I am still actually a little bit shocked by how overwhelmed I felt at times, and I don't know, I just thought maybe sharing my story would help other people who maybe aspire to live in another country, or even just people, even if you are British, who want to live in London, because it is just such a unique place. From this series, you can expect a look at the London literary scene, including different bookish events that I go to, some of the best bookstores in London, the best cafes in London, some of my favorite museums and places that I would recommend going, whether you also live in London or you are just visiting or want to visit someday. And also a look at just kind of what average life looks like. I will say I think here, more so than a lot of other places that I've lived, I do end up doing more exciting things. So that is kind of a part of the average life. There's definitely still a lot of mundaneness, but London is such a great background for everyday life. To kick off this series, I thought I would answer the 5 questions that I get asked the most often about my move over here. The first question is like, why did I move to the United Kingdom? The story behind that kind of relates back to why I quit this YouTube channel back in like 2021. In 2021, I decided to try to take my freelance business full time and also to live as a digital nomad, traveling the world. That was just really hard, and I didn't really have time to keep making videos here. To be honest, for a bit, I wasn't really reading a lot either. It was a period of crazy change in my life, but I did end up kind of achieving that goal and build up a freelance writing business, and also got to travel quite a bit. On a remote work trip in Cape Town, South Africa, I met my current partner, who is British. We started off as friends, a little bit of a friends to lovers trope, and then we slowly started dating. We dated for about 2 years. We spent one summer in a van doing like van life in the Peak District, the Lake District in Scotland, which are absolutely amazing parts of the UK, so gorgeous. And then we spent another summer just kind of living in his hometown in the Midlands, just to kind of see if we wanted to make the move to the UK official. Actually really expensive and a bit time consuming to move to the UK. They really do not make it easy on immigrants. So we wanted to make sure that we truly wanted to live here before we went through that process. That leads me to the second question, which was, what did the visa process look like? So my partner and I did the partner and family visa. I think when people ask me, what did the visa process look like how did you move to the UK? They're really looking for a way that they can move here themselves. And this particular visa that I'm on is kind of a tricky one to get. I would actually say most of the visas to the UK are a bit tricky to get, especially if you want to stay long term, not just go to graduate school here. But this particular visa is for partners or family members who want to move to the United Kingdom. We didn't use a lawyer to do our application. We compiled different photos of us in different locations, photos of him meeting my family, me meeting his family, and just kind of things to show that our relationship was legitimate. There was also like this really weird financial element to it, and it had to be based off of like his income, not my income. So we had to prove some like financial things as well. And we applied to that on January 1st of 2025. What a way to hit off the new year. I had to apply to it from the US because I had to go to a US embassy, not a British embassy. Doesn't fully make sense, but I had to go to a US embassy and get like fingerprint scans so that they could run a background check on me. And then they also took my passport and mailed it to the UK embassy in New York, I think, or maybe DC. And so I couldn't like leave the country while they were processing my visa application. It took them maybe 10 days to process the visa application, which was so nice. It came back right away. It was approved, and February 1st, we hopped on a plane and came over to the United Kingdom. We originally settled back in the small town in the Midlands where the rest of his family lives. It's a very cute, picturesque town. It kind of reminds me of like the town in Gilmore Girls, but set in the middle of England. And for those of you who aren't familiar with like British geography, the Midlands is basically the district between Birmingham and Manchester. So it's kind of like to the north of London, but not right on the Scottish border. While we loved living there, it was not the best place for someone in their 20s to live. Most people there were slightly older, starting families, very like family focused, and my partner and I are both a little bit more career driven. We wanted to maybe have somewhere where we could find more niched clubs and events for things that we both really like to do. And the one downside I think of the UK is that in the US we have tons of like smaller big cities, I guess you could say, that have a lot of things going on, a lot of different events and clubs. In the UK it's harder to find that, so we did consider Manchester, London, and Bristol, but we really thought that London had the most to offer. My partner did university at the University of Manchester and said the weather wasn't the best there, so we did end up going with London, even though we were definitely a little bit, I don't know, like hesitant to go with London just because of the price. London is insanely more expensive than anywhere else in the UK. In April of 2025, we sublet my friend's apartment for a month in a different neighborhood in London than where we live now, and we kind of took that time to explore different neighborhoods. One of the things that I love about London is that each neighborhood really has its own unique flair. You truly can find any sort of smaller neighborhood vibe that you want here. There's definitely places that are a little bit more party scenes, more artsy, more historic, more modern, and so you just kind of have to really take the time if you're going to move here and look for what area best represents your interests, the lifestyle you want to live. So we chose an area that's a little bit further out from London. I don't want to say the exact area. It's a little bit more of a lush green area. There's tons of spaces to run. It's a little bit quieter than some of the other parts of London because we're both kind of introverts and homebodies. So we didn't really want a place that was going to be like wild partying all the time. And we absolutely love it here. We're actually considering potentially buying a flat here once our lease is up. But for now, we have signed a 1-year lease, and we have an apartment that honestly is in possibly one of the best locations in the neighborhood that we're in. We have a 2-bedroom flat that is extremely expensive, but definitely worth it, especially because with 2 bedrooms, we can create a home office, which is where I'm at right now. We both work from home most of the time. My partner does have an office in London he goes into occasionally, but most of the time we're working from home. So having that separate office space is honestly so nice. If you have any questions about living in London or the UK as a whole, definitely leave them down below. I am happy to answer anything in the next installment of this series. Now it is currently Saturday. We actually have tickets to go to Sky Garden. Sky Garden's like this giant skyscraper in the city. You can actually go to Sky Garden for free, whether you are a British resident or not. It's apparently a really great place to just see the entire city. But the catch is that they only put out the tickets on like certain days of the month, and you have to kind of grab them really quick. And then we're going to a David Attenborough exhibit at the Natural History Museum after. My partner's a huge fan of David Attenborough. Admittedly, I don't know a ton about him. Apparently he's a really big like nature guy, like a nature TV reporter. was such a lovely afternoon out in the city. I was kind of reflecting when we were in the city on just how amazing it is to live here, but also some of my goals for my time in London. Going to things like that exhibit at the Natural History Museum and Sky Garden are definitely things that I want to do. One of the things I ended up buying, which I think is really useful, and it's how we got into like the David Attenborough thing, was this thing called the Art Fund Pass. You get it for 3 months for I think like £30, and then you get into all these different free art museums and other exhibits in London. And so I'm really excited to use that pass. I've already gone to enough things on the Art Fund Pass that if I had paid for those things separately, it would have cost more than £30 total. So it's definitely worth it. It's also a really great way. Like, I love buying passes like this. Last year we bought the National Trust membership for a bit, because when you buy these memberships that include tons of places, you're more likely to go to places that are maybe outside your comfort zone, or you're unsure if you'll like them or not. And then once that pass is up, I'm going to then go on and explore some of the free museums in London, such as the British Museum or the National Portrait Gallery. I feel like London almost shares with DC is that there's tons of really great free museums here. Another goal of mine here is to go to more bookish events. Earlier this week, I went to a romance book night and it was so fun. You got to hear both the authors talk about their books and then get your book signed. The two authors who were there were both debut authors. So the first one was Georgia Stone, who wrote the Friendship Fling, and then the other one was Annabelle Slater, who wrote The Launch Date. Both these books are romantic comedies that take place in London. This one I think is like an office place romance. I think this might be about a girl kind of leading a guy who is an immigrant to London around on some like the most iconic sites in London. So I'm really excited to start both of these books. I also think they're just great books to have because they are about London and I'm so new to the city. I really want to try to attend more book events like that in the future. I've never lived somewhere where so many famous writers and debut authors are kind of giving talks, and I really love that environment. For those of you who don't know, I'm actually writing a fantasy novel myself, hoping to start querying that soon. One of my biggest dreams since I was probably 5 or 6 has been to be a novelist. Being around that sort of environment, being around other people who are writing novels is super inspiring to me. One of my other really big hobbies that I really want to explore while I'm here is running. I am actually running the Valencia Marathon in December. So this will be my second marathon. My first marathon was the Edinburgh Marathon last year. I actually really did not have a good time during that marathon. I really enjoyed training, but something like mentally was not right. Around like the 16-mile mark, I really just broke down mentally. It was not a good time. So my only real goal of Valencia is just to be more mentally strong. I am currently training for that and have been trying out different run clubs here in London. It's been a great place to make friends. One downside I will say about the run clubs here is that they're so huge that every single time I go, I feel like I meet completely different people. But some of the people I have met, we've exchanged WhatsApps or Instagrams. And so like, for example, one girl I met at a run club, her and I are gonna go on a run next weekend and then get brunch after. So that's a really fun way to make friends. Speaking of making friends, that's another goal of mine here, which I know sounds like really stupid, but I feel like a lot of us as adults like just don't have a lot of really great friendships. So I really want to make more friends while here. I'm already off on a really good start so far. So I made a couple of other friends who are also fellow freelancers who I meet up with once or twice a month at a coffee shop to co-work, and that has made work so much better. And then I've also been making friends at these different book events and these run clubs. Another goal of mine, which is just kind of a fun goal, is to fill up my bookshelf. When I moved to England, I couldn't take a lot of my books from the US with me because books are expensive to move, they are heavy, and so I basically had to restart my book collection from scratch. Books here, fortunately, are pretty cheap, so I've been doing a really good job at filling up that bookshelf. Another thing kind of related to that is I really want to go book thrifting, hopefully sometime this weekend. One thing I'm really looking for is the entire Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson. I feel like that's a good series to thrift since it is a little bit older and also super popular. But in general, I'm just going to the charity shops, as they call them here. In the US, we call them thrift shops, and looking for any books that I think would make a really good addition to my collection. happy Sunday. So this morning we went to a run club in Richmond Park. I had 15 kilometers to run today. So quite a long run. I think that's about 9 miles for my American friends. I low-key count my runs in kilometers because kilometers go faster than miles, so you feel more accomplished. Definitely a hack if you're a runner. After that, we went to Petersham Nursery, which is a little cafe. I tried scones with clotted cream for the first time. Absolutely loved it. I think it really makes a difference that these scones are hot, and my partner said that like scones with clotted cream are very hit or miss. He tried it though, and he said this place had really good scones. And then today I'm actually going with a friend to Ham House. We're also going on the Art Fun Pass. Like when I bought the Art Fun Pass for £30, I get to take one guest with me places, which I just thought would be a really nice way to low-key incentivize people to be friends with me. Like I'm new to the city, and it's just really nice to, when you meet someone you vibe with, to be like, hey, I have this pass, want to go to an art museum with me for free. So Ham House is also in Richmond. It is a house that was owned by some rich duchess back in the 1700s, and is just kind of full of Enlightenment period art and furniture, and then has a really gorgeous garden. So I'll meet up with her and we'll take the bus over to Ham House and probably get a coffee and walk along the river a little bit first. Hopefully we'll also stop by some secondhand bookshops, some charity shops like I was talking about yesterday. I actually met this friend through a book club that I joined here. It's kind of a part of 3 book clubs. I go to them on and off. In one of my earlier videos from this month, I talked about going to a book club and trying to finish the book in time for book club. So really highly recommend checking out that vlog. There was a ton of stuff just about living in London there as well. I have another vlog. I don't think it's that one, where I go to Notting Hill area and there's a really cool romance bookstore there. So I will link both of those videos below because they might be worth watching because they also include different areas of London, whereas I feel like this one's really Richmond centric and also a little bit in like downtown area where Sky Garden and the Natural History Museum are. Ham House was absolutely gorgeous. We also went to a little secondhand bookshop they actually had at Ham House, but we didn't find anything that we loved. I think I showed you like a copy of Jane Austen, but there was also some really, really cool book art there. And I was so stupid because we went into the bookshop and then we went to the lavender garden. I'm like, oh, I really want to buy that little cute hedgehog that you saw for some decor because as you can tell, my apartment still needs some decor. I totally blanked and just didn't go back. It was raining when we finished the lavender garden, and so kind of regretting that. I think what I'm gonna do literally for the rest of Sunday is just read. I always have 2 books going at once. So one is an audiobook, and my audiobook right now is called Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. It's in like this cute small town romance book series. If you just want like a lighthearted, fun read, I really recommend the books in that series. And then my physical book right now, which I'm hoping to finish today, I started it in last week's vlog, which was a super fun introvert home weekend vlog. Very different than this vlog because I literally stayed at home for almost the entire video, and this video I feel like we've been go, go, go the entire weekend. But I am currently reading Enchantra, which is the sequel to Phantasma. It is a romantasy novel set in a Italian villa. It is definitely a little bit on the spicy side of romantasy. I loved Phantasma. I think it's a great book to read for spooky season. This book isn't as spooky though, because Phantasma is a romantasy that takes place in a haunted house in New Orleans. You don't have to read both of them. It's more a series where they're kind of standalone but interconnected novels. But I hope you all enjoyed today's video. Again, leave any questions or anything you want to see in episode episode 2 of Life in London. Happy to answer anything about living here and moving here. Subscribe if you want to see more videos about just life in London, books, writing my own novel, marathon training, balancing it all in your 20s. And I hope you all have an amazing day or evening, whatever time of day it is when you're watching this.